The Industrial Revolution began in England. It began in places like Manchester, Leeds. From those middle-class working type of towns. And it created, the Industrial Revolution was great because here we are. Now we have iPhones. But it created a whole new kind of poverty and suffering with the increasingly mechanized ethic of the whole world. You know, you had the child labor, but not just that. There were no labor laws. They would work people literally to death. They didn't have OSHA, which OSHA here in America is the government organization that sort of polices and makes regulations and laws for the workplace, safety in the workplace. None of that was around. It just didn't exist. So employers, you think they're bad now, and they are bad. But then they would literally work you to death. That's in large part what this piece is about, is the steady and sure defilement of humanity by industry and by raping the earth of its resources. All right, so D.H. Lawrence, before we get to that, during the time that this was written was the Victorian era. Queen Victoria was notoriously snotty and prude, and she just wanted everyone to walk. That's, the British is so proper. I should be drinking my tea by the nines. She wanted everyone to. Sex was not a thing that you should ever do unless you're making babies. I mean, very put together, well-to-do, morally upstanding, if you believe in that kind of thing. But it was a very repressive time. People weren't as accepted. They weren't accepted in their differences. Everything was about appearance, the appearance of being high class and wealthy and all that. Okay, D.H. Lawrence, interesting character. He's the one who wrote Lady Chatterley's Lover, which was the first pornographic novel, basically. And it was not sold until 1953-ish in America, when there was an entire trial to determine whether it was of literary merit or not, and pornographic or literature. And it was determined that it was literature, so now it could be. So he wrote that. But he's very, very into men and women, very different. He's into the theme of, why is it that men and women have such a hard time? Why is it that we can't get along better? Why can't we communicate better? And marriage, certainly stemming from his own personal life. I will say this so many times. I'll say it again right now. The person you marry is probably among the greatest determiners of your happiness, future happiness. Man, you gotta wake up next to this character every morning. You gotta share a bank account with them, have kids, buy houses, go on. You better like them. Oh wait. Why did you guys get together? She's hot, man. I met her in the bar, man. We had a one-night stand, dude. Which is probably the worst reason to get married I can imagine. Oh yeah, the honeymoon phase lasts 6 months, a year if you're lucky. What are you going to do for the rest of the 25 or 40 years? So that's an important thing. We'll go over that a lot, I think. But here we are. And here we have the woman who, Elizabeth, what she likes, she kind of emulates Queen Victoria. She dresses properly. She acts properly. In fact, she won't even go into the pub. She won't even go in there, because not only, in her mind, not only do you have to guard against impropriety of sin, but you have to guard against the perception of impropriety. So she won't even go into the pub. She also really, really comes down on everybody around her, doesn't she? She lashes out at her son for being in the darkness. She lashes out at her daughter for this and that. She lashes out at her husband all the time for everything. Some of the things some of the grievances she has is that, number one, she's still in this mining town, around a bunch of middle to lower class people with dirt on them all day long, who all they really have the energy to do after they come out of the mine is go get drunk. And she just doesn't approve. And so she laments the day that she married Walter because he was handsome. It says it over and over again how handsome he was, how masculine. And you have to read into the text, but there's a lot sexual going on here. She's was very interested in him in that way, and maybe thought that would carry her through. But then when she realized that she wouldn't get what she actually wanted in life, that's when she started to henpeck, or she started to become emotionally detached. And the meaning of this thing, I need to jump forward. The meaning of this is that he had to die before she fully realized that she didn't really know the guy, that she hadn't made enough of an effort to understand him, to value him for who he is rather than what she imagines he could be, to make him feel good, to embrace the idea that, yeah, I get onto you for coming back with coal suit on you, but that job is what gives us this. So, there's lots of very complex things going on here. Also, a lot about gender roles, right? Victorian era, women were oppressed, couldn't vote. So how is it that the queen is a queen, but women can't vote? I don't know. It was shortly after that, though. Britain was always a little bit before us. When women got the right to vote, also with outlawing slavery. Okay, what is a chrysanthemum? Tell me what that is. What is a chrysanthemum?
Type of flower.
It's a flower, but what's the root of it? Is a mum. Ladies, you remember wearing your big mums with the cowbell and all that stuff hanging off of it for prom, or no, it was a homecoming. That's a chrysanthemum. So, but the irony of the chrysanthemum is that it is a flower that symbolizes fidelity. And it's not so much like it is sexual fidelity, but it's also like fidelity in an emotional connection kind of way. So it's ironic that chrysanthemums would be the flower, because if there's anything going on in this piece, it's not a loving emotional connection between two people. It's quite the opposite, actually. Oh, yeah. Okay. And her father is getting remarried very soon. He's a widower. He's getting married very soon after her mother died. She takes issue with that. You guys, I would consider myself a feminist because I love women, man. I think women are amazing and strong and powerful and just very good at so many things that I suck at. But I think women are amazing. They're spectacular. And I would call myself a feminist because I believe in total equality. For example, when I joined the Air Force, if you wanted to be a bomb loader, you had to pick up 80 pounds. But unless you want to be a woman bomb loader, you had to pick up 50 pounds. How does that work? Are they different bombs? I mean, I wouldn't be able to say, hey, you ladies, go over there and pick up the small ones. Us guys, we'll come. Come on, man. I'd get in trouble for that. And I wouldn't do it anyway. But I'm for total equality. And that's why I call myself feminist. But there are all kinds of feminists. In fact, I think I put this on Blackboard for you. So, there's many different types of feminists. And some of them I do not agree with at all. They're really philosophical about it. Really philosophical about it. One time I wrote an essay in graduate school glorifying Emily Dickinson for her emotional connection to, I call it something like the female voice. Man, I got in a lot of trouble for that. But I thought, I'm glorifying women. How? How am I in trouble glorifying women? They said, what you don't understand is if you come along and say woman is this, then somebody can come along behind you and say, yes, woman is this, and it's inferior. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it goes a little too far. We have liberal feminism, radical feminism, Marxist feminism, cultural feminism, ecofeminism, transitional global feminism, visionary feminism. Wow. It's really intense. I just think women are awesome, and I'm glad that there's lots of them in the government. I'm glad we have a female vice president now. But what we're really talking about in this piece is the relationship between men and women, between man and wife. And it's sad because her husband has to die. What's that song? You don't know what you got till it's gone. Boy, isn't that the truth, right? I mean, you just need to stop and look around and take inventory of what you have. It's hard. That's why I say perspective is the great teacher. So you learn. Like when I took my trip around the world, I learned more about America than the other places because you see the way they do it, and then you think, wait, why in the hell do we do it that way? And then you start analyzing who we are as people. It was not all good. Like I didn't learn, some of the things I learned were not great about Americans. Okay, so let's look at Odour of Chrysanthemums. There is a lot of imagery about light and dark coming out of the darkness. It is just reinforced over and over and over again. D.H. Lawrence, his father was a miner, and he saw it as a horrible scourge because his father was sick with what they call it, black lung, from breathing the coal dust his whole life. So, but think about what we're doing here. Coal is the natural resource that you take from the earth to create light. That whole intricacy is delicious to me because there's this prevalent motif of light and dark. The sun comes out of the shadows. The boy, the son, also, John, he also gets upset with his sister for tending the fire wrong and letting it flicker. She looks into the fire and sees caves in the fire. It just goes on and on and on. And the town itself is a dark town. And you can feel the drabness. The people go along with soot all over them. Just the image of the train in the opening section there is just, it's like the mechanized beast slowly lumbering into our lives. But the darkness. And also it extends to mental darkness. Because don't we say, if you don't understand something, say, I'm in the dark. Isn't dark a metaphor for all those kind of lacking things? I'm in the dark. I don't have it. I don't see. I don't have faith. I'm in the dark. And when you are saved or whatever, you would say, I see the light. The light of Jesus has come into my heart, whatever they say. So light is a fulfilling thing, and darkness is a retracting thing. But he spends all day long mining minerals from the earth to create light for other people. They don't have it in their lives. In fact, they're pretty miserable. They don't have it, but he's mining it all day to get it. And it kills him. How about gender roles? What is her role? She's the domestic person. I mean, she takes care of the kids. She does the household type of stuff. She doesn't have a job that she goes to during the day like that, but she works in the home. I mean, you could find all kinds of meaning in this regarding that. You could say women were oppressed. They couldn't even go out and get their own jobs. So she's miserable in her marriage. She's trapped. She can't get out. She just has to keep cooking, right? You could get all that. But I think what Lawrence was really going for is this problem that they never, oh, sure, they had sex. But what I mean is they never consummated their marriage. And what that means in my mind is tear down the wall. Come be together. Actually have an infusion between each other. Be honest. Share your deepest feelings, emotions. Understand the other person. How many times is it when you're speaking and you realize that the person, you're having a conversation, and you realize that the person you're talking to is not listening to you. They're just thinking what they want to say next, right? People have a hard time with communication, right? So the question, I think, if the meaning of the piece is this idea that these two people joined and never joined, really. They never came close. They never successfully let each other into their lives, like the light, right? If you say that, then you have to ask yourself, why? I mean, what's the point? Why? Well, she is dissatisfied and she wants something else. She would like him to be more proper. Because Victorian society, she wants to be more proper. Let's think about this. There was a book in the 90s, I guess it still exists today, called, and some of you would be mad at me, I'm sure, I always get in trouble, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's this man, John Gray, and he wrote this book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Sold 15 million copies. It was the top nonfiction book throughout most of the 90s. Believe it or not, the 90s were kind of prudish and sexually repressed, believe it or not, because of AIDS and all that. This rise in Christianity. Okay, how about this? So this book comes out, Men Are From Mars, Women, and it was just taken as wholesome. I mean, people loved it. And let me tell you a little bit about what it says. I'm telling you what the book says. I don't want to get in trouble. The book says there are very significant differences between men and women. And the way to have a successful relationship with the opposite sex is to understand those differences. Okay? Like, for example, there's a big difference in how men and women communicate. Okay? There's a difference in what they value. There's a difference in how they want to be heard. So the first thing is that they value different things. This is the book. A man is primarily concerned with autonomy, achievement, power, and efficiency, whereas a woman is more concerned with relationships, love, connection, and aesthetics. Her sense of self, her sense of self is centered around her ability to nurture others, her ability to communicate her feelings, and her ability to build quality relationships that are long-lasting. The man, his conception of himself is more centered around his ability to solve problems, his ability to reach goals by himself without help from anyone else. Okay, I mean, if you look at it, it makes a lot of sense because he has this little moniker called, it's the Mr. Fix-It. So think about this. Ladies come home. I'm talking from his mouth now. Ladies come home after work and some bitch at work did something at work. And she sits down with her husband and says, she starts telling him all about it. his first reaction is to fix it. By God, she didn't. No. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to march in there, and I'm going to tell her, and I'm going to tell them, and I'm going to come back. But she didn't want that. No, don't fix it. What did she want instead? Just listen. I mean, just listen, just listen. Be an emotional partner with me. Listen. I'm just venting. I don't want you to go fixing everything, right? That's one example. Okay, how about this? I'm going to go through it with men primarily need trust, acceptance, appreciation, admiration, approval, and encouragement. Women primarily need caring, understanding, respect, devotion, validation, and reassurance. So there's this whole thing, and it may not be too far from the truth. If you want to keep a man happy, cater to his ego. It's sad. But cater to his ego. Empower him. And if you want to keep a woman happy, communicate with her. Men want to communicate information. Women want to communicate feelings. I have to say, I see some truth in that right there, because I speak in paragraphs with my poor wife. I speak in paragraphs, always point A, and it's just, that's more like writing an essay. It's not like talking. So men tend to speak literally and succinctly. Women tend to generalize and hypothesize. Men, when they get upset, they go into their cave and want to be alone. Women reach out to others. Okay, these are some of the tenets of this book, and I know I'm running out of time, but I don't think it's all true. Number one, you can't say women or men. Like, you can't prescribe some trait for all people at all times. You can't say all women are this or all men are this. So you're generalizing right from the beginning, which when you speak collectively, you're almost always cruising for a bruising. But I will say that there's some value to it. I mean, different people, maybe we can say that, different people are different. We're all different. And so I think the thrust of this is that two people came together and never actually tried hard enough to make it work, maybe. They were strangers. They were strangers living in the same house. And why? I don't know. Maybe they had different speaking styles. Maybe they had different learning styles. Maybe they had different songs to sing. And that's the main thing I say to my students about marriage, is you better have the same song to sing in life. I mean, you get married, you stay together how long? You're probably in your 20s when you do it. She may want to have a house in the suburb and a government job that she just goes to every day for 8 hours and comes home and cooks dinner and start all over again. You may want to sail the world in your own sailboat with $3 in your pocket and a dream. That may be what you want. These two things may not. So having the same song to sing, and I see that here a little bit. Like, she wanted a higher level of living, a higher standard than he could provide for her. And he lived the rest of his life feeling debased because he couldn't give it to her. He could not make her happy. And that's sad. Like I said, we were thinking about, it's like today to be gay is like being left-handed, kind of. No, it's not even interesting anymore. It's like, oh, you're gay, right? Whereas growing up in the 90s, it's literally, and I'm ashamed to say this, but in my hometown, Abilene, I went to high school in Abilene, if you were gay, you just didn't tell anybody. And that's sad. So here we have a marriage that didn't work. And I guess we're always trying to learn something from literature. And the question is, how are you going to make your marriage work? And I'm here to tell you that it is hard work every single day. And you have to really work at it. And you have to be able to transport yourself into somebody else's mind into their feelings, into their hopes and dreams and desires. Because the first key to success is understanding, is listening and understanding. Because if you're that person who's standing there rehearsing what you're going to say next and not even listening, this tale may not end very well for you. And the other part of it is this slow and steady destruction of the earth due to industry, overpopulation, lack of resources, and just generally bad policies concerning the environment. I think we could definitely get that from this. I mean, of course, the guy dies in the mine because of it. Dies in darkness.